So from a PPC frameworks perspective, you guys need to understand, and some of this is basic, but we want to make sure we cover all of our bases here, that there are several types of ads that you can run. And so sponsored product, sponsored brands, sponsored display, and demand side platform. And this is always evolving. Amazon is constantly finding and discovering and creating new ways to take our money. And they are starting to do some streaming. They're starting to allow you to advertise on their streaming service with TV. There's retargeting, and there's going to be more and more ways that they're allowing you to understand the customer journey. So my understanding from some talks with some friends that work at Amazon is that there are going to be some really cool ways that you're going to be able to track the customer journey coming out, because not a lot of people will buy your product the first time they click on it or the first time they see it. And so if you understand the different touch points and the different times that they have eyeballed and click before they purchase, then you can start to optimize for that a little bit more as well. So some really interesting insights coming out by the end of this year, from what I understand. As far as ranking goes, keyword ranking, sponsored product is going to be where we're going to focus and where you're going to spend the most money. The other types of targeting do not impact your keyword ranks directly. So we talked about how your keyword ranking is a byproduct of your performance times your relevancy. And when your relevancy is low or less than 1, then it reduces your ability to rank. But your performance from your sponsored product ads in particular contribute to that. Whereas your performance on your sponsored brand or sponsored display do not. Okay, so for ranking campaigns, you're going to want to focus specifically on sponsored product. So this is going to be on the detail page or in search results. It's going to start with keyword targeting and then move on to product targeting. So the goal is product rank. So this is, again, as I said, this is going to be where you're focusing and your objective. And you can have multiple objectives with sponsored product. Don't get me wrong. We will have for velocity, we will have for profitability, and we will have for keyword rank. So generally, we'll have 3 different buckets of campaigns and keywords that we're targeting. And so that can all be sponsored product. But the only one that you can target with for keyword ranks or that can help you with keyword ranks will be sponsored product. Now, the product revenue, so going for ACoS, product rank revenue is going to be velocity, and then make sure you're always grouping by root word. Now, if you don't understand what root word is, then maybe I should break that down for you and kind of jump over to another slide really quickly, because I think that that's pretty important. So this would be an example of how roots work. So within Data Dive, we're going to take the hundreds or even thousands of keywords, and we're going to break them down into repeated words and phrases. So every single repeated word that you find in more than one keyword is going to be what we call a root. Now, this is going to be a relevant root. That's going to, what that means is that if you were to search this term, your product could show up. Now, relevant roots are important because you're going to want to target relevant roots with your broad and phrase campaigns a lot of times. That's going to be where you target. You're not going to turn on a phrase campaign for bag woman, but you would turn on a phrase or a broad campaign for toiletry bag woman in this example, right? And the whole point of understanding roots is that the keywords will typically, with the same root, will typically perform similarly, because people searching for a cosmetic bag will typically be looking for a specific type of bag that your product may be more similar or less similar than. But people searching for a bathroom bag or a shaving kit bag might be looking for, again, a specific bag that is more similar or less similar than your bag. So when you group the words by root, they typically will perform similarly, which is good for your for managing optimization and for making sure you don't have campaigns that have keywords that are performing bad and poor at the same time. That will keep your cost per click high. So in this example here, you've got toiletry bag women, travel toiletry bag men. These are all different relevant roots. And you can see toiletry bag man has 16 keywords with a combined 43,000 search volume. And toiletry bag traveling has 23 keywords with a combined 27,000 search volume. So if you didn't have visibility on this from doing proper keyword research, then you wouldn't know how important each of these routes are. And it's really important that you understand, what are my objectives? Am I covering every route to make sure I'm not having any indexing issues? Am I prioritizing the correct routes? And am I getting the most out of this potential product for ranking? So that's what we mean by routes as well. And for your going back here, so you want to group your keywords by root word in your campaigns again. Now, this is where sponsored products, anytime you see sponsored, that's basically sponsored products in the search results. These first three, like this isn't the top, I don't think, but yeah, if this is top of search, so when you first search for something, those first few advertising spots are going to be what we call top of search. So when you see TOS or you hear someone's, you see TOS or you hear someone saying TOS, they mean top of search. Sometimes TOS can be terms of service, so make sure you're not breaking any rules. But TOS is top of search. And so generally top of search, as we were talking about earlier with Torsten, will convert higher, but it will cost you more because it's a bidding war, right? So if a lot of people are bidding to try to show up at the top of search, you're going to have to pay more for it. But if the conversion rate is significantly higher, even if you're paying more per click, it could end up rewarding you from an organic ranking perspective because your conversion rate is higher, but also because you're just making more sales in general versus what you're spending. So your overall tacos will go down generally if you're aggressive with top of search. Now, this is a sponsored product, highly rated. You'll see this in some instances as well. And sponsored brand video is when you've got your video. Now, we were talking to one of the attendees earlier, and she was asking around, she has a unique product. This is a good opportunity to do this, is, sponsored brand up at the top, sponsored display video or sponsored brand video, because this is where you can really educate people on why your product is different or better. It's easier to show them a use case in a video versus just a main still image, right? So you can see, what it really looks like. And then you've got the on the detail page. So when someone actually clicks on your product page, we call that a detail page. You'll see that brands you might also like or products similar to this one. You can, you'll see this this carousel. This is where you can target this by turning on sponsored product in the product detail page. And you also see here similar brands here. This is going to pull from your product video that you're targeting with your sponsored brand video. Interestingly enough, there's a section, this is a little sidetrack, but there is a section that says videos related to this product. If you don't have the 5 or 6 videos that fit in that carousel at the bottom of your page, then Amazon will put your competitors' videos there. So you do want to have users upload videos, buyers upload videos, or you want to make enough videos and then upload them there as well, so that you don't have more real estate going to potential competitors. So here's sponsored product detail page, some more 4 stars and above. Amazon's really trying to highlight a lot of your competition on your on your own listing. So you've got to use some defensive campaigns sometimes to target your own listings to try to get these spots because it's going to make sure that people convert higher. Torsten, what's your thought on defensive campaigns? Because I don't have too much in the deck today around that. But running and trying to get these spots to maintain to choke out your competitors who are trying to steal some of your products or some
Yeah,
of your sales.
we do both. Obviously, branded keyword and PDP defense. Branded keyword, you always think about cannibalization, but it's always worthwhile testing and protecting your brand, your branded keywords, and then checking, for example, search group performance data, whether you're losing market share or not. That is a go-to approach. For PDP, you obviously have more options. You can do video, you can do sponsored display. You can do sponsored product, even like within variations nowadays. You can actually show you another variation on your PDP. And with the additional features from sponsored display and sponsored video, where you can upload custom images, custom messages, your logo, I feel like you can really stand out and make your brand look more like a brand. And of course, every sale that you're making, your competitors not. Yeah, so hence we're always trying to defend PDP as best as we can.
Yeah, and I find that it converts really highly if someone, clicks in and then goes, and it's also good because like if you're building out a real brand with multiple styles, for example, like if this was the same brand with an elevated dog bed and then these flat beds, someone is going to that looks at the elevated bed and then looks at the flatbed and says, you know what, maybe I want the flatbed instead. They're going to go if they click on one of these from a elevated bed, they're likely going to go convert on a flatbed, right? So you want it to be yours. And so if you're selling an elevated bed, you also want to be selling a flatbed as well, maybe. Um, but the looking at SQP data is really important here as well because you can really understand what your you know, purchase share percentages on the branded search at the branded search level. So when you look at the branded search, you can look at what you're spending as far as impression share and impression rank versus your conversions. And then if you turn off the ads for a week, you can see if your percentage of your purchase share went down, right? And if you maintained the percentage, let's say you sell 96% or 95% of the sales from branded search, and you're running ads and you're spending, I don't know, hundreds of dollars a week there, and then you turn it off and it goes down to 94%, and maybe you lose a sale, right? Or two, and you lose out on like $50 and like 20 or $50 profit. But you're in order to maintain that, you were spending hundreds, right? That you can see when it's not worth it. And that's going to be really important when you start to look at automations to really, and this is really in-depth data analysis that you need AI or really good algorithms and suggestive algorithms to look at all these different things to really understand, is it worth is the juice worth the squeeze? Am I spending this money in the right way? What is the ROI on the dollars I'm spending on every single keyword, branded or not, and then really understand what the impact is long term for that spend. This is where it really comes down to getting into the nitty gritty of running proper PPC. Sometimes we know what we should be doing, but it's so intense and there's so many things to do that you really want to try to simplify it in some kind of display like what we built into Rank Radar, or have some kind of automation that's giving you suggestions. So we'll continue to go through what a lot of these other ads look like. Sponsored product. And I have to thank Anthony. I don't know if Anthony's still on the call, but Anthony Cofrancesco, our director of sales at Data Dive, and really, and at Seller Systems, he's really put a lot of work into putting this deck together and showing a lot of these examples, and our design team with Natasha and Caroline. I want to just thank them while I've got a moment. Give them a shout out because they do a great job putting together a good looking deck. I'm just here, the one, speaking. I'm just the pretty face, as they say. So even though Anthony is a much better looking guy than I am. So is Torsten, by the way. I'm the ugliest looking mug here. So But back to the deck. Sponsored product detail page you can see up here. You've got this is with a coupon, so you can see the coupon is really important. And sponsored product detail page based on recent views, products related to this. You also sometimes get other sponsored recommended based on your browsing history. So you get a lot of out of your ads. And so this is where product placement really matters too. So you'll notice when you go into your performance of your ads, you'll see that they're going to give you your conversion rate at 3 different places, which is going to be top of search, rest of search, and product detail page. This is the product detail page. These are all the spots that they're talking about. So they're really taking you and throwing you into the product detail page in many, many different places. Your click-through rate is going to be lower on the product detail page because you're in the jumble of mix. Someone's already clicked on one. They're likely to convert there once they've clicked. But if they're browsing the detail page and then they see you amongst all of those different other options, the conversion rate's typically going to be, or the click-through rate's definitely going to be lower. The conversion rate's likely to be lower as well. So this is where you can really do some bid modifiers to try to avoid getting on the product detail page. So if you're finding that you really struggle there amongst all of that noise, then you can put a low bid, but put higher multiples for top of search and rest of search. So here's some sponsored brand. You can see that up at the top, you've got a really great ad where you can show a close-up of the product, a little bit about your brand, some great text here. Um, it's really a nice banner display. Sponsored brand can also look like this, where you got multiple product options, so you can really show that you've got this is sponsored brands related. So this is a triple. I like the display up at the top where you can really showcase multiple products like this one. So this is a store spotlight. So you've got 3 different dog hats here. Very cute. Now you've got DSP. So whenever you go to Google search results and you see something being sold on Amazon, like this Halava diaper bag, this is going to be a DSP ad. So they're retargeting. And then there's a lot of options for retargeting with DSP, but you have to go through a proper agency to really utilize it. And they've really got to really understand how to dial that in. It's not available to just every single seller account. So you have to be working with an agent here. And sometimes it's for this is where I was talking about that customer journey that we're really going to get more insights in later in the year from Amazon, which I think is really interesting. But people will see it here, they'll click on it, maybe they'll come back because on Google, depending on what they search, they will be in a different phase of the buyer journey, if that makes sense. So they could be in the discovery part, they could be in the research part. They're not ready to pull the trigger yet. So when you got these ads showing up in Google, a lot of it is just brand awareness. They see it, they make note of it, and then they come back, they go to Amazon, they search. And it's tough to tie that attribution together. So what they're going to do is they're going to say people who saw your ad on Google didn't even click on it, but saw it, and then later went on Amazon and searched for you and then bought it. You're going to be able to tie those 2 things together in the future, which is really neat. It's going to really start to show us how valuable sometimes that brand discovery is. Whereas right now, you don't really know, and it's really anecdotal. If you start running these ads and sometimes you see a slight bump in sales, it's tough sometimes if it's a week or 2 weeks later too. There's all these different factors. But if you can really start to get some attribution there, it's really interesting. But from for the purpose of today's call, we're not really caring too much about these other placements. They're good for defense. They're good for, branded search. They're good for kind of like pushing BSR and velocity. But I really want to talk today around, making sure that you're, pushing keyword ranks, that your main objective is to maximize profits through maximizing your organic impressions and organic clicks, organic traffic, and organic sales. That's what we're really talking about today. And we're talking about DSP video here where you got tablets and you've got, this is how it looks on tablets and mobile and some really cool video there. You've also got major brands that use it for brand awareness, and here's an example of Cheetos. But let's get back to sponsored product. You can do it in the form of product collections, store spotlights, and videos. And then you've got banners and PPC videos. And sponsor display, contextual targeting. Choose category when many products are relevant and you want a wider spread of impressions. Uh, have you ever had any success with choosing a subcategory category to for targeting? And what kind of products were they if you did? This can go to Tal, to Abe, to Aaron, to Torsten, any of the experts in the audience. I mean, I've struggled in the toy category, targeting category, like using the category targeting, but maybe someone else has had some success.
Yeah, I mean, category targeting is great. Even like for brand defense, for example, like maybe you don't get you don't get the placement on PDP. You can do category and then your brand name because you've got the category, and then you can do pick your own brand. You can even go deeper. That works really well for
I like
competitor.
that. I like that idea. I hadn't even thought of that. So from a brand defense perspective for category, that's really great.
Yeah, same for competitor conquesting. Certain ones, or yeah, or category
So
subcategory
if
also
you want to
works.
just target or go specifically after a competitor, you can do category plus competitor name as well, and you can just try to choke them out.
Yeah,
So this
yeah,
could be that's really interesting because I've always liked the idea of running lightning deals. When I see a new competitor come into the space, especially someone that's trying to copy my style of images and stuff, I try to run a 6-day deal or like I really try to choke their launch out during their honeymoon, really turn on aggressive coupons. But I like the idea of using category plus the new brand name and really just showing up all over the place, in conjunction with that. That's really good. Yeah. Um, And sorry to cut you off there if I did, Torsten.
yeah. So that works pretty well. You can go there, and yeah, we do a lot of category targeting as well. For it's almost like an ASIN targeting, but it's an even often lower bids. Yeah, almost like Amazon gives you the benefit of going wider, therefore giving you clicks or impression at a lower click. So that works also really really well for us if you have the budget to do it.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, generally, like the generic and low relevancy keywords are gonna perform even worse in sponsored display, I've noticed. I don't know if you have the same insights there as well. SD campaigns on generic keywords are significantly worse than they are even in SP. Um, So you want to be as specific as possible generally, but I do like the category plus brand. That is very specific. So if you're thinking a sponsored display in that instance, then high relevancy and highly targeted. Extra tip is coupon usage. So green colored tags that can hit the click-through rate. We'll get into click-through rate performance in a minute. But DSP, this is that demand side platform. This is where you're all over the place. Amazon is putting you got to go through an agency here. Um, Torsten touched on naming conventions earlier. It's worth being said again. I use a similar one that he was talking. You don't need all of these things, but you can. And in Data Dive, we allow you to like kind of select what you want. Um, Start date. I usually don't put a start date, but I'll put like the short brand like product description here, and then the SKU or the ASIN. I'll put here as well, so that I can easily find all the campaigns that are related to that SKU or ASIN. And then your add type, match type, start date, root group. I like root group a lot. I think it's really important to be able to search your roots. Again, I usually don't do start date, but it's important because as you get to hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of active campaigns, you've got to be able to pull those up pretty quickly. Even your portfolios get full. You should be using portfolios too, and then kind of naming what those portfolio are for. But make sure that you're using a very standardized naming convention. So increasingly critical as you scale, like I just said, crucial to group by root, and then objective-based and data-based. So the key takeaways here are the most efficient way to manage PPC campaigns is by routes. You can expect similar routes to perform similarly. You inspect the search term report on a regular basis to see if keywords and subroutes need to be regrouped, because a lot of times these routes will have other subroutes in them. And then over time, keywords may change and new routes may emerge and perform better. So you can use them as discovery as well. When you have those broad campaigns targeting a route, you'll start to see that there's an additional subroute that's performing better than the others, and you can maybe start targeting that in a new broader phrase campaign separately because and be aggressive with it because you know that it's even more relevant and performing well already. So dividing campaigns based on performance. This is important. So inspect your search term report to see if a subroute is performing better than another. Now that Data Dive, you don't need this step anymore. Now that Data Dive has the rank radar, it's basically your search term report is built into Data Dive, and we've combined the performance at that level as well. Also, if you find this to be the case, divide and separate into multiple campaigns, increase the budget. So here's another practical example. Give me 1 second. All right, yeah. So inspect your search term report. Again, you don't need that, but combine keywords under the same route campaign. So you can analyze the different breakdowns of routes and then restructure your routes that way. And after running for 10 to 21 days, you can identify the subroutes. So understand how this works. This is a decision funnel. So you've got your organic keyword ranks at the top. That's the most important thing. The next thing that you're going to care about the most will be your conversion. That's your competitive advantage. That's choking your competitors. Then your profitability is next, and then your A cost is your volume. So these will be your velocity. So as I was saying, you have to be thinking in terms of your PPC decision funnel. If it's helping your organic keyword ranks, you want to keep pushing. There is a cost benefit analysis to be done here. Sometimes to rank for certain keywords can cost you more than that keyword is worth from an organic sales perspective. But generally, you have to be thinking in terms of all of the different keywords that are impacted by that. So when you're thinking about routes, you have to think that there are hundreds of keywords that share that root word, and the combined effort of all those keywords will impact it. And I'm going to show you a real example of that shortly. The conversion rate is super important, as we talked about, because that helps your ranking versus your competition. Really important for organic ranking. So you should have high converting campaigns always running. And then your tacos is your profitability. Any keywords that are profitable, you can have as long as the conversion isn't too low. And then your A cost is your volume. So again, if you've got your campaigns with decent A costs or at least break even, maybe you want to keep letting those fly because they're going to be lowering that BCR and helping you as well. So this is kind of your decision matrix. If it's positive keyword ranks, even if it's not profitable, generally you're going to keep it. Again, there are exceptions. You don't want to be spending thousands of dollars a month to maintain ranks on keywords that are only generating hundreds of dollars a month in additional profit. So you have to figure out, that cost benefit analysis as we were talking about. If it's break even, you're keeping your neutral keyword ranks and your positive. And if it's profitable, you're keeping here. Your negative keyword, if it's hurting your keyword ranks, you're always turning it off. So we talked about tacos. At launch, I like uncapped. You don't have any organic sales coming in, so generally it's you're just spending and going wide because you really, really want to get data. You need data to optimize and to really understand what's going on and where, from an indexing, from a conversion rate perspective, from a ranking perspective, to push ranks and to understand where to push more, where to pull back, what to fix. You need data. So the best way to get data is to turn on a lot of PPC and start spending some money from day one. And so I don't really like capping that. on week 2 through week 4, so this is going to be in our growth phase, and that could be week 2 through week 8 or week 12. Um, but generally, you have that early launch phase still. You're going to be 60%. So week 2 to week 4 is your launch, still in your launch. And you want to be below 60% tacos. This means that you're starting to get organic sales. You've got some clicks. You've got some revenue coming in from organic sales. And so that's offsetting that spend. And then as your keyword ranks continue to rise, you should start to get more and more sales from organic versus paid. That will drive down the tacos. So furthermore into growth, you should be south of 30%. And the idea is that you're going to continue to push into a position where you're spending money to maintain ranks once you get into that maintenance phase. And then that's going to be your 5 to 15% range. Now, as Torsten showed earlier, in 2002, the average tacos for a maintenance phase product might be 5 to 7%. And now that's climbed to north of 10 to 15%, depending on the niche. So it's really tough to say. Every niche is different. Every situation is different. Every moat that you have from a design perspective, an IP perspective, a keyword, all of that matters and is going to contribute to what your tacos is and your profitability. So just be aware of that, that there's a pretty wide range here as well. So daily budget best practices, and Torsten, feel free to chime in with any additional here or anything, any additional information. But for us, I mean, your overall budget really depends on the total number of campaigns you're running. I want to make sure I'm covering all of those keywords that I find are relevant, more than 250 search volume, above a certain relevancy, grouped by route. I don't want any holes, and I want to get data from all of them. So if I know that I want to spend at least $20 or $25 per campaign per day. And I have a maximum of 10 keywords per campaign. If I've got 1,000 keywords, I've got 100 campaigns. Technically, I could be spending as much as a couple $1,000 per day on PPC. Now that's an extreme case, probably not going to happen. You're not going to spend every dollar for every campaign for every budget. And you do want to allocate a little bit more for bigger campaigns, a little bit less for others. But you want to make sure that you're at least getting that data and seeing where the clicks are, what your performance is. So you have to really understand, what should your total spend be for this ASIN? If I'm expecting, based on my competition, to only be making 50 sales a day, because the best seller is making 100, the second best seller is making 50 or 60, and then the next few guys are making 50, 40, 30, you're not going to spend $1,000, right? You want to give yourself the opportunity to make 50 or 100 sales a day, but you're realistically not going to get all those impressions and all those clicks. Your competition is pretty ingrained in their positions from keywords, organic and paid. So, what should you really be expecting to spend based on a conversion rate, an assumed conversion rate? Work backwards from that. So if my assumed conversion rate on something that is design oriented might only be 10%. And if I know that every 10 clicks I get one sale, and I'm expecting to make 30 sales a day, then I need 300 clicks, and my average cost per click is $1. That's $300, right? So I just worked backwards into the math to understand what my budget might be in order to get there at 10% conversion with 300 clicks. So at $1. And you can kind of work backwards into that math and then figure out what you should be spending every day. So split your campaigns from the ASIN level down to individual campaigns. Again, this is grouping by route. Budget is dynamic. Just because you set a large daily budget doesn't mean it will be spent. You'll need to dial it in. And if you're too conservative, it means that your budget is too small. It means that you're not getting enough data, and you're not going wide enough, and you're not giving yourself the opportunity to drive those clicks, those sales, those add to carts and to get those actions that you need to rank. So if your campaigns are going well, you want to keep increasing the spend as long as it's profitable or moving in the right direction, and you see your keywords moving in the right direction. Anything you'd add here?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's at the beginning it's all about, you can put a budget at $100, but maybe you only spend 10. So it's the importance is to go broad. We often go down to very low search volume when we launch new products. Create like could be like 50 campaigns, could be 10 campaigns, depending on how deep you go. But you really want to create this broadness of super highly relevant keywords, and therefore create velocity of for low hanging fruit. If you spend all your money on your top search term, that's probably a bad decision. But yeah, so data dive is great because it creates the campaigns automatically for us, and we can go down deep and then yeah optimize from there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you there. So the biggest challenges that I see people facing, which keywords to target and what type of targeting to use. Hopefully we're answering that for you today. Which ad placements to use for those keywords. That's going to be based on the data, analyzing it, understanding where your conversion's higher, what's helping your keywords, what's not, maximizing for profitability or for velocity or for, understanding what your objective is for each ad is super important to answering that question. If it's for keywords, for organic keyword placement or for organic growth, keyword growth, top of search with higher conversion rate might be where you need to be, even though it's a little bit more expensive. And then you have to figure out whether that math makes sense, as well. So how much to bid on each keyword? We'll give you some of that strategy shortly. How much budget to allocate for each campaign? We talked about that briefly. How and when to optimize a campaign. So this is going to be once you're getting enough data in and you're starting to look. I'm gonna walk you through some real world examples on optimization and what that looks like now, and then how to properly write a listing to maximize keyword ad position and minimize cost per click. This is simply a function of math. So maximizing your ranking juice can be a function of making sure you have every route covered, but also at the same time that you've got the exact form of every keyword with the most amount of broad search volume that are the most relevant written in the right spots in your listing. That maximizes your rank potential, so your ranking juice. In Data Dive, you can hit a button and it'll do it for you. So at launch, we recommend you just use the listing builder, hit the button and write the listing. It's by far the easiest way to do it. You're going to want to then go in and maybe make it a little bit more readable, but keeping the keywords pretty much in the form we put them in. So how to deal with variations. We talked about variations in the last Q&A section, and I thought that that was super important to talk about, making sure that variations can be used to increase conversion rate, overall conversion rate of your listing and performance by making them their own traffic center, high converting traffic center. So if you've got that pink one targeting pink keywords, someone that clicks on a pink one after searching for pink is far more likely to convert than someone who just searches the regular keyword and clicks on your listing, not sure which one they want, right? So your conversion rate will be higher on those highly specific keywords that you will be targeting with those variations. And so variation strategies do a few things. They increase your overall conversion rate. They increase your overall profitability. They drive more traffic into your listing, and they will lower your BSR by increasing the number of total sales and revenue you make, which are all great things. So variations are super important, and making sure you're managing them correctly is super important. Doing the keyword research to determine which variations to use can be really important. I'll give you an example. I've got toys where if I pull up a master keyword list and I want to know from the total keyword cloud, how many people are, searching for lion variations of this toy, right? Or a specific animal like a turtle. I can search turtle and then I'll see that, oh, there are 40 different keywords with turtle in it. Well, that's enough for me to know that enough people want a turtle variation of that toy that I should create a turtle variation and then target all 40 of those keywords in my PPC. So utilizing your keyword cloud from the master keyword list and Data Dive and doing a search into there is super important for understanding variation strategy, where to go from a product and a brand perspective as well. So then the last thing is how to shift gears depending on the phase of the product. So remember, understanding how to go from launch to growth to maintenance is important, and then how that looks from an optimization standpoint as well.